Evangelical Baptist Church in Portsmouth, Virginia. I am so privileged to air the Joyous Sound radio program each morning, 7:30, Monday through Friday. Tune in. This program blessing to you and your church. God bless you.
You're listening to The Lighthouse, W245CK Suffolk, W261DI Norfolk, and WPMH Newport News.
Welcome to another great broadcast of Picking Up the Habit with Brother Tim and Frady here on WPMH 100.1. Picking Up the Habit explores biblical topics, culture, and the world around us through a Christian biblical perspective. Join us today and give us a call at 757-488-5299. And now, here is Brother Tim and Frady.
Yay! Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome back to me.
Just you?
Well, because I've been up for 2 weeks.
You have been gone for a while.
So I'm welcome back.
Welcome back, Tim.
Thank you. And Frady,
How you doing, everybody?
you're always here. Because I've been gone, you've been here.
I was not here last week officially.
Oh, that's right. We did a replay.
We played a best of because all of a sudden you got a really good, important preaching job. I guess.
Yeah. That was I was speaking at the Chesapeake. I'm becoming more of a priest without a home. Yeah. Hey, everybody, you're listening to Brother Tim and Frady sitting here at Picking Up the Habit. Our phone number is 757-488-5299, 757-488-5299. The purpose of our show is a caller-driven show, and we cannot do a show if the callers don't drive it. What does that mean, caller-driven? It means you're behind the steering wheel. Our conversations go where you want us to take them. We're here to have conversations about those things you've always had questions about. Sometimes it's situations in your life that you don't want to talk to your pastor about, although you should. But sometimes pastors are
judgmental.
Yeah, and sensitive about certain issues. They don't want to talk about them. They don't want to preach about them. And people need guidance. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, it sounds like some pastors I know, they talk about everything lately.
Yeah, I know. There's been a lot out there. So last Sunday, I was filling in for a pastor that was sick out at the Chesapeake. Love going to the Chesapeake. Bunch of dedicated Christians at the end of their some of them have got many, many more years to go. Some of them out there are 90, 100 years old. And it's just a very, very good service to do. And today I was at an Anglican church in Williamsburg, the Incarnation Church.
It's 2 weeks in a row you're preaching.
And next week I'm at another.
Go, Tim.
Yeah.
It's your preach day. Go, Tim.
But let me give our number again, 757-488-5299.
Why is that important?
Well, if people have something they want to talk about, I need to make a confession.
We want to hear from you. Give us a call. Like I said, Tim said earlier, it doesn't matter. This is a college show. We have topic ideas, to talk about, but we want to hear from you. And if you got a question, we want to know the answer, but we'll tell you if you don't. We'll do our best.
And our listeners might.
Right.
I mean, the Holy Spirit speaks to us all if we listen.
The best shows we ever done is when callers just call in and questions.
They are.
The best ones ever.
They really have. But 2 weeks ago, I was away at we call it a synod, but it's a conference, business meeting for the diocese, a collection of churches under a bishop.
We had a great
Yeah, it was very great. We want to thank everybody for being here.
We talk about the election.
And
you know what we should do first, though?
What?
We haven't prayed yet.
Yep, you're right. Heavenly Father, we give thanks to you for all things great. We give thanks to you for all things small. We give thanks for this program, 11 years in running, and for Hartman Dental and for Worley's Home Services, which keeps us on the air. Father, we ask that you grant us the wisdom to be able to answer the questions that people have. Give them the strength and courage to pick up the phone and ask those things which are bothering them. But in all things that we do here and now, we ask that we do your will. And I pray that even for our current Congress, president, the incoming president, incoming Congress. Lord, you are powerful and enough that you could make everybody do your will. But you gave us freedom. And I, based on my freedom under you, ask that you do your will in my life and in the lives of those that are listening. Through Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So at our business meeting, we talked about mission.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, all right, what about it? And
Considering you run a mission.
basically, they spent a lot of time talking about how churches needed to be active in mission.
Oh, you know how I feel about that.
And my attitude was, hello, over here.
You see me? Do they see me?
Yeah, it was exactly like that. And I've been struggling out of 5 loaves. Folks, let me share with you some numbers. Okay. Now, mind you, Frady has been with us since 2013. That's when we moved into Frady's church as the host.
It wasn't Freddie's church. It was a church I attended, but yes.
Yeah.
And
You
no,
owned it.
I was a
Deacon there.
I was a deacon at the time at that
Yeah.
church. Yeah, they're great
So
church.
he's been with us. So it'll be interesting as I watch his face and these numbers. And so I went to Ohio, and I went up with October's report. And let's just say,
Numbers are down.
just the opposite.
Numbers are up. That's good.
See,
Oh, I know where you're going with this already.
is it or is it not?
That numbers are up. No, it's not good that numbers are up considering what you do. That means more people need help.
But it's good that we were able to help them.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the blessing.
So in September, we served 715 families.
Oof.
Now, that's up from 490 in January.
It's like 20 families a day. That's like 20 families
No.
a day. Yeah.
Well, but
Yeah.
that doesn't count how many come week after week.
Right. That's just individual families.
So it
yeah.
could be 715 in 1 week.
Right.
Now, some families, because they're allowed to come weekly, are able to come. Some come once a month, some come every other week, some come 4 times a week. For October, we jumped up to 809.
Oof.
And the total number of people, 2,407 in September, 2,810 in October.
I'm making faces on YouTube just for Valerie and anyone else who wants to watch. That's a lot of people.
400 more people in a month.
200.
And that's not including
Did you say 2,810?
2,810 people.
You helped almost 91 people a day. That's just on average.
On
not counting.
average.
Not
Well,
they come more than once.
here we go. Are you ready?
Sure.
Total number of people served in September with visits, multiple visits, et cetera, 10,993 people.
Give me that October number.
12,700.
In 31 days, you helped 12,700
Well,
people.
get this. We were closed for 5 business days in October.
So 12,700 in 26 days, you helped almost 500 people a day.
Let's change those
I
numbers
know.
there because we're
Five-
not open on Saturday or Sunday. So in September, we did a total of 22 days of service. In October, we did a total of
17, I'm guessing. maybe.
Yep, 7.
But you had those Tuesday services, so
But the
Yeah.
whole thing is, in 17 days,
747 people a day.
we did 12,700 people.
That's a lot of people being served and that's a blessing though. Don't get me wrong. That's a blessing that you're able to help that many people each day to get food. Like it's sad that 700 plus people a day on the peninsula in the Newport News area are needing. They're not in a position right now. I mean, it's
Right.
sad for them. They're not in a position right now where they can afford their own groceries and food. It's a blessing that Five Loaves is there to help. So yeah, when you're like, hey, do you see me? When they're like, we should be doing missions.
Well, it gets even better.
I'm sure it does. I'm waiting for it.
In September, we served 148 new families.
I'm gonna go 262 for October.
In October, we served 192. 44 more.
New families, by the way.
New families.
Never been
been
there
there before.
That's 200 families who all of a sudden needed help.
And this is the thing. We went from 512 people that were new to 817. 300 new people in 1 month.
Valerie's on our YouTube saying she'd love to see the numbers this time next year and how much they change.
The sitting at these meetings, I became very, very upset because I need help, folks. I have been saying it for years. We are not a paid ministry. And I really don't want to be. Because once you start paying people, my job changes. Now, everybody argues with me because they don't like what I say. Not because what I say is false, untrue, but rather they don't like it. If I start having to pay people, my job changes from feeding the people to making sure I raise enough money to make payroll.
Let's throw that out there, though. How about this? Give us a call, 757-488-5299, 757-488-5299. Tell us, do you think that he should pay people? I mean, it's volunteer-based. It's always been volunteer-based. But do you think he would get more help if they paid people?
Well, if I pay people, sure, I would have more people, but how am I going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars? As it is now, we operate on less than $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
And if I had to pay people, it would triple, maybe even 5 times the amount of money I would need to raise. So all my time would be spent trying to raise money. And in the trying to raise money, it's not only going to be raising the money, it's going to be competing with all the other pantries and, the food banks that raise money. Who's on the phone?
We actually have Valerie on the line. She's got a comment.
Go ahead, sister. What's up?
Hey, Brother Tim. So I'm curious about, because I'm not sure like how and if this would be different, but rather than having like a payroll, what would the difference be, and like some of the pros, cons, difficulties, or whatever, if there were like a small stipend for some of the heavier volunteers that are committed and they're every single I mean, I'm not saying hey do that, but like how would that be different? Because I'm not sure how that works.
Well, I would say if we move to a stipend, that's only going to work up to a certain dollar figure, and then at which point it's payroll, because then you have to take taxes out of it.
Oh, okay.
I remember the time when we used to be back at Livingstone, and
Mhm.
people received a stipend each month. That was
Right.
very, very much crafted with the tax laws in mind.
Oh, okay. And
$600
it's
was done
also
with it. Huh?
and it's also very dependent on incoming donations and everything too. I know
Right.
that.
Right. And
Right.
that's the point, was that I would have to change from feeding people, dealing with issues that they have. Instead, I would be out every day trying to raise money. Now,
Yes.
we do have space and free room and board for one or two men that might like to come aboard and work a part-time job in the afternoon, or go to school, or go to um, long distance learning, and they could get free room and board in exchange for helping out at the pantry. But these days, it's not there. It
Yeah.
just is not there like it used to be.
Well, having come last Thanksgiving and staying for a week or so and visiting at the property, I can attest that it's small quarters, but it's very nice and it is doable and workable. And yeah, so if anybody out there is thinking about it, at least maybe set up an interview with him and go see.
Amen. Thank you, sister. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, bye.
Bye. So while I was at the group at our synod, the problem is everybody says, why doesn't your church send somebody down?
Someone from your church?
Yeah.
You don't have a church.
Well, the Anglican church.
Why don't
Why
they-
doesn't my bishop send somebody down to help me?
one person?
One person would be good,
I mean, it's a start, but I mean,
but here would be the problem. How is that person going to get paid?
I mean, I'm guessing the church would pay them.
Yeah, but church doesn't want to do that.
Of course, I mean, but that's the only way. I mean,
And this was the case. This is what brings me to my point. I have listened to any number of churches, any number of denominations talk about church. Because I do the searches that I do, I get all these ads about church services, how to get more people in your doors, how to market this, how to do this, how to do. And as you've heard me on this program before, this is where you're making church a business, and the people are the commodity. Now, there is justice to this. Your pastor should be paid. Your musicians, your associate, your soundboard, and all those people get paid. And in order to pay them, you got to get people in the door to tithe.
it's just an unfortunate fact nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, we talking about that today. It came up. We were talking back in the day. The Levites and the singers got paid, but with grain and wine and food, and it was just a different. Nowadays, it's money, and
Right.
I mean, so even back in biblical times, they were getting paid to be. Not paid. They were getting taken care of.
Oh, well, now maybe you're changing the story a little bit.
Am I gonna fill me in then?
Well, because if you're getting taken care of, that meant you had shoes on your feet, you had clothes on your back. It didn't mean that you had the new kicks out by Nike and you weren't running around in Prada or whatever.
No, of course not. No one should work in ministry wanting that. No one.
But if you look at a lot of our churches, that's what they do.
Don't get me started on this.
Okay, but it's true.
You're absolutely right. It's true. It's
Okay.
about to find. There's lots of churches out there, unfortunately,
That are trying to dress like the world to bring in the world.
correct.
Okay.
It's a whole different show.
So when I was sitting up there, I met with my bishop and I said, listen, I have got to have help. But here's the thing. All you people that are out there, what are the measurements? What are the tests of a successful church? What do you use to measure the ministry that you're doing? I would venture to say, one, average Sunday attendance. How many people you have in your church?
See, I would disagree, but
You mean to tell me your church doesn't keep a record of how
of
many
course,
people
of
there?
course, you keep a record of how many people
And
show up.
how do they measure? The more people we have, the better we're doing.
Nah, I don't.
See,
Numbers don't always-
see, you're doing that one thing.
I'm not doing anything.
You don't like what the answer is.
No, I don't think it should be. I don't think average attendance is.
I agree with you. It shouldn't, but the fact is, that's what we do.
Well, no, society, correct. As a general, you're right.
As churches, that's what we do. It's called ASA. It's in every single report. What's your average Sunday attendance? Now, on top of that, what's the next measurement?
How many people are saved?
No,
That's what it should be.
I know what it should be.
What do you think it is?
I know what it is. How much tithe?
Well, that's
How much money are we bringing in every week? That's how we judge the success of our ministry.
well, you can't have a ministry, unfortunately, without money.
Well, oh, thank you. What are we doing here at Five Loaves?
You know, I agree with you. I'm not. I mean,
But
you can't.
what are we doing? We're feeding 12,000 people on less than $10,000.
Right, well, yes, but you're also getting a lot of donations from other things.
No,
which is
that
helpful.
is donation. It's
The food. You're counting less than the food is less than $10,000.
Uh-huh. Because we don't buy it. It's
Right.
leftover food that would be thrown away. So the point that I'm trying to make, and I made it to my bishop. You sit here and you talk about ministry, but yet churches judge themselves on a 2-hour service on a Sunday.
Well, we gotta have ministry too. We gotta have missions. You know my.
I
feelings.
am the mission.
I know. You know my feelings.
But see, the thing is that this is where I get fed up. I said to my bishop, I said, listen, our goal for most of our churches is 200, 250 people on a Sunday morning.
Right.
I do that on a Monday.
Right.
And I do it on Tuesday. And I do it on Wednesday. And I do it on Thursday and Friday and again on Tuesday night. And folks, those are all unique people. None of them come back on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Every day, I'm seeing 70 to 80 families a shift. And I get no recognition for it. I'm not a church.
Let's become a church. I mean, it is a hard thing, but is recognition, and I know you, so I'm just going to throw this
No,
out there.
not recognition. I'm trying to get help from the church. And they are not recognizing the work as church. Let me do this. We are now, this one's going to blow your socks. In April of 2014, we started with client number 12.
I remember I was there. You have to what?
We are currently at 10,762.
Isn't number 12 still come?
Huh?
Isn't
Yes.
Number 12 is still the one that comes.
Yep.
Yeah.
10,600 or 762, I think it is. We're in the 700s.
Nice.
Families
And
that we take care of. Now, they are asking for church. They are asking for Sundays. By the way, folks, our number is 488-5299-757, 488-5299. They're asking for church. Okay, Brother Tim, why don't you do it? Well, one, I need a location. Pantry's not big enough. Now, here's the numbers. Last year, before Easter, I decided to do a little survey. Find out how many people are really, really, really wanting church. So I took and I gave out surveys in 2 days. Just 2 days. and I had 102 responses. And it was, your name. Are you what faith group are you? Because we do have Muslim, we do have Jew. I also asked, do you go to church? And if Brother Tim were to start a church service, would you be interested in attending? Would you bring your family? And if we did it on Sunday evening, would you be interested in attending even though you went to church that morning?
I'm guessing like 100 probably said yes.
We ended up with, out of the 92 that responded,
92. Okay, so about 90.
we had 64 say yes.
Mhm.
And the
Wow.
number of people that represented was over 175.
It's lower. That's good. That's lower than I
Okay,
thought.
so right off the bat, I don't have a place for 175 to sit. Our chapel only holds 20.
No, yeah, you'd have to find a building.
Well, how do I pay for that building?
Well, no, you'd have to raise money, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would.
I-
And who's going to raise money when the people, because let's face it, if I want to plant a church, I could get enough money together to plant a church. But for how long would other people pay for this church to continue? They should be able to pay their own pastor. They should be able to pay for their own. And this is where, well, I'll do it for free, but I can't make other people do it for free. And then I sat down and I talked to some of our church planning experts and said, hey, listen, this is what I did. Honestly, out of these 60 some odd people who said they'd be here, what's the percentage that they will? Because I don't know about you, but when you talk to these church planning people, they know what percentage of parking spaces, if you don't have this open, if you don't have this much seats open, it's not going to, and Frady's over here nodding his head. Yes, yes,
I
yes.
talk to these same people.
Okay. So I said, listen, how do you determine when you do something like this, what the percentage of responses actually is? And my response was, well, there's a couple of things we have to take into account. One, you only surveyed 2 distributions. You didn't survey the other 4.
Right.
So let's go ahead, and you had 2/3 said yes, basically.
Yeah, sure.
So if 2/3 said yes in 2 distributions, that means in 6 distributions of 109 families, 2/3 of that would be 600 families.
You could probably at least 50% of that.
Families.
Yeah.
So out of 600, what percentage? Maybe 5, 10, whatever. And then the expert said to me, no, here's the deal. Brother Tim, you're forgetting people. I said, who? I said, we opened it up to all the clients. He said, well, wait, you don't think any volunteers would come?
Right.
You don't think that there are people that you've met throughout your life that would be there?
I think
Through business?
I agree.
So I would venture to say that while you're only talking about 600 families of clients, and maybe only half of them would show up, that the other half might be people you didn't even think about.
So they're telling you 500 to 600 families would show up, 1,000 plus people. You'd be a mega church.
Exactly.
I can see it. Knowing you as long as I have, and people love you.
But here's the deal. It would be a mega church made up of the poorest of the
See, I
poor.
don't agree with that. Here's where I'm going to go with what they were telling you. The church planters. People only come to you when they need service. For the most part, people only come to you. You've had 10,000 families over the last 11 years. Okay, 10,000 plus. I know for a fact there are people who don't come to see you because they don't need you, but they still love you. They still care for you. And if word got out, even from a decade ago, the originals, the original 10, I'll guarantee there are people from that original group from 11 years ago when we opened up at Olivet that would still in that Denby area that would come to your church if word got out that they come.
And how many of those do you think have gotten themselves out of poverty?
I'm going to go at least half.
I would tell you no, because right now people can't even live but paycheck to paycheck.
I mean, the people who are coming through to you, right?
No, look at our society. You're living paycheck to paycheck.
I still tithe.
Yeah, you tithe, but you were raised up with that. And I'm not saying I'm not saying they wouldn't tithe,
right.
But tithe of $100 a week is different, or $500 a month, $800 a month is different than $48,000.
I mean, you're gonna have that. Every church, unfortunately, has that potential issue.
Okay, but no. You're not hearing what I'm saying. The foundation of this church is the least, the last, and the lost. I'm not saying they won't tithe, but I bet you the average income, and see, here's where I got to be worldly like the rest of churches. Most of our people are going to be minimum wage jobs.
Maybe to start, but wouldn't you think that if, just like any church, as the church starts to grow, people are going to come to this church, they're going to find a church. You might,
stinky clothes. People who haven't been able to bathe.
That happens now.
No, they don't go.
But
your people who make the money don't go to those churches.
I think you would get.
You got churches where those people go in and they're church wounded and kicked out.
I think you would get people who have money who would ultimately start coming to your church, even with
maybe, but you got to get somebody to help you get there to begin with. Folks, we got to take a break because we got to make money, keep ourselves on the air. So we're going to be right back.
Trash, rodents, snakeskin, even deceased animals. No, this isn't a Halloween shopping list. It's what might be under your house, in your crawl space. Schedule a free crawl space inspection with the Crawl Space Company and find out what's in your crawl space. Call 757-394-3494 to schedule your free inspection or visit thecrawlspacecompany.net. So, do you know what's in your crawl space?
Actual client review of Hartman Dentistry.
I just want to say that I just went to Dr. Hartman, and she is absolutely wonderful.
What did you think when you walked in? Did it just feel like it was a relaxing place to be?
Yes, it's very nice, very clean, very bright. You're not sitting in a room with just four walls. The room that I was in, you could see outside.
Did you have a wait before you walked in?
I was there maybe 15 minutes before I got into the office, and so I got in my chair, and then maybe another 30 minutes while the technician, did X-rays and all.
And so, are you going to go back and get your teeth fixed the way she says?
I'm going to try. I am going to try because I really trust her, and the only reason I went is because you thought so highly of her.
I got to tell you, I'm in love.
Give Hartman Dentistry a call at 757-873-3407.
Beach Radiator and Air Conditioning at 1776 Virginia Beach Boulevard offers a wide variety of services for heating and cooling systems on automobiles. Technicians are ASE and MAX certified. Pickup services are available, and most jobs are completed the same day. They're open from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. weekdays. Beach Radiator is owned and operated by Glenn Davis, and their phone number is 437-7800. Their website is beachradiator.com. Thanks to Beach Radiator for sponsoring.
Burn Foundation of Virginia is a 501c3 nonprofit organization in the city of Portsmouth, Virginia that serves Hampton Roads-based expectant and single mothers between the ages of 18 and 35 who are homeless, living in poverty, or experiencing crisis. Since 2015, we have met our community's needs by providing transitional housing, financial education, and life skill support so that the mothers we serve leave our programs equipped for sustained success. We know that hope starts with you. Partner with Firm Foundation to make a difference in the lives of expectant and single mothers in need. Donate to help us maintain our program. If you can't donate, volunteer. Volunteers are needed. You are needed to help change lives. Call 757-381-9558 or email info@firmfoundationva.org to donate or to volunteer. Thank you.
Wake me up, take my life over. Lift this weight up off my shoulders. 'Cause all this time I've been fine with myself.
Is this us?
Yeah, that's the new rejoin that you asked for.
Hey, I wasn't listening. I had my headphones off. Welcome back to Picking Up the Habit. Sorry, folks. This is Brother Tim. I didn't have my headphones on. We were in the middle of discussion.
Yeah.
All right. You're listening Picking Up the Habit here on the Truth Network. 757-488-5299. 757-488-5299. Here's the thing that I brought up to my bishop. I know 5 or 6 individuals that I could probably hit up. I don't like that phrase, but it is what it is. That are of significant wealth. And they have offered, because there are people out there who are not people of, what's the word I want to use? They don't care which faith group. And they just would help to get the least, the last, and the lost into church. Who's on the phone?
We have Tiny on the line.
Hey, Tanya, how you doing?
No, Tiny.
Tiny?
Yeah.
It's tiny. I'm 6'7", so it's like calling a bald guy curly.
Okay, Tiny, how you doing? And what would you like to add to the conversation?
I'm doing well, brother. I just wanted to tell you, I've been listening for a few minutes and about starting a church and not having the money to do it. And I just want to tell you that if you really earnestly feel like God is calling you to start a church, God will provide the money for the church. You don't need to worry about that if you just step out in faith. But if God's not calling you to it, then you need to worry about it.
How do you step out in faith with no money?
I think we lost Tiny, but that's okay.
You raised your hands and
completely Tiny. First off, Tiny, thank you for giving us a call. I'm sorry we lost you. Thanks for calling us. But no, I agree with them 100%.
But how do you do that?
You just have faith in God.
Okay, folks, come on. 15 years I've been doing what I'm doing in complete faith,
and God has provided for you 100%.
And
it's making. I'm not saying it's
how
easy.
did we start? Because we had money,
right? But
how do I start a church?
You pray.
Folks, I am telling you, I am so frustrated right now because the same person who's telling me to have faith about church does not have the same amount of faith in their own life.
That's not true. I have faith. No. Okay. See, and let's talk about. I want to be a foreign missionary. He knows this, and that's what he's bringing up. And I made a comment before the show that I have not been successful raising money. That's not me not
just start out doing it.
That's not me not having. I have tried that. You know, I've tried that. That's not me having faith.
Keep doing it.
I'm trying to raise money again right now for my mission trip coming up next year. It's not lack of faith. It's I believe God is telling me it's not my time.
Okay. What I'm saying is I need a place
right
that would seat at least 100 people.
Okay. And when or if it's meant to be, God will give you that building. I fully believe that. I agree with Tiny on that.
Okay. I'm going to tell y'all that you're a bunch of naive people.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. And I believe in miracles and I see it every day. But we are talking about people who have no money.
I don't think it'll be those people that are giving you the money. It'll be other people.
I would agree that may happen. But in the business world, no landlord is going to give me a lease.
Right.
On maybe.
We would have
no bank
No.
will give you a loan for a building
No, you wouldn't use it
on a maybe.
You would do fundraising, and people would, and we would fund. You would do fundraising events and other things.
But see, which comes first? The fundraising before the people or the people before? That's just what we were talking about.
Unfortunately,
when I had my headphones on.
You are correct. That is what we were talking about. You would have to do the fundraising first.
So you think you can fundraise when you don't even know that there's a need?
There is a need.
You don't know that because
your people have told you there's a need. Your people have told you. You talked to church planters, the company you talked to.
No. That doesn't count. I'm talking about the church people that will be there, because all that planning and forecasting.
No,
I don't.
But we're talking
about
about this. We're talking about the pantry right now, and we're talking about right now physically you starting a church. So people have told you there is a need there.
No, they have said. Well, yeah, there are individuals who said they would come.
Right. So
and want to come. Now,
correct.
The reality is, and we all know this, how many people say they want to come to your church and never come?
But again, you mentioned the church planting company. These people do.
No. I don't count that, because that's just forecasting. That's gambling.
But that's what these people do. They're, and like you said,
forecasting and gambling. And I don't buy into that.
That's cynical. These people are spot on.
Oh, they're spot on. I can tell you how many churches I know that have been he told them to do.
They did not do it, right?
Because he wasn't spot on.
No, because they didn't do it.
Okay. Anyway, folks, what I'm saying is this. The church needs, when you build a church, in this instance, right off the bat, let's say we just had 50 people show. Now, mind you, we did distribution of ashes for Ash Wednesday. It's a good thing I did it outside, because there was over 65 people who received ashes. If it had been raining, nope. And if we're talking about those experts, remember what happens. You have one chance to make a good impression. If
Tim,
you don't have enough seats for people to sit in, they will not come back.
Tim, I don't think you have enough faith in yourself. Let me get that
Answer
call.
the phone. And folks, I do not have faith in myself. My faith needs to be in God, not me. Because I don't want people to come to church because of me.
Okay,
they come because of God. Who's on the phone?
It's Tiny again.
Hey, Tiny.
Hey, Brother Tim. Listen, you're kind of putting the cart before the horse. You got to have faith that it's going to happen. If God's calling you to plant a church, then He's going to provide the people. He's going to provide the money.
But
He's going to provide everything you need
first. Which is first.
You make sure that you're hearing from God.
I already know that I'm hearing from God. What do I go after next? The money or the people?
How do you pray for it? Do you pray for God? God, you want me to do this, Lord? You need to show me how and show me a way and provide for it, because you're the only provision I have. You own the cattle on 1,000 hills. You can give me what I need to do this if you want it done.
So we're talking money first. We're talking money first. Cattle on 1,000 hills represents money.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Okay, so we're talking go after the money first. Because I do know people that I can step out in faith and ask them for money. The embarrassing thing for me is they are not part of my faith group. And yes, that is embarrassing, because it should be my faith group who would support me, not others. But that's an easy thing to overcome.
It's all God's money, bro.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether it comes from a Muslim or from a Hindu or from a Jew or whatever. It's all God's money. God owns everything. You know, if you are right in doing what God wants you to do, that's the issue that I've always found is, how do I know for sure that this is what you want me to do, Lord? You know, and I get to the point where you just got to step out in faith and okay, I feel strongly enough in my spirit that I need to do this, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to trust you to provide for it, Lord, because
Okay, but see,
you're my
here's
provider.
Tiny. I think you keep saying I'm going to step out and do it. What is the do? That first step is what?
It's got to be the money.
Securing it. That's what I'm saying. That first step is securing the people, securing the money, securing the location, securing the music team. What is the first step? That's what I'm asking.
Well, what do you think the first step for Paul was when he went to another town?
Oh, Paul, that doesn't count because it's not his first step. It's a continuing step of when he first stepped out. That's
Right,
once
but
you're on a journey, there's no more first steps. You're just walking step by step throughout faith. His very first step was when he got blinded.
Okay, but you sound to me like you're on a journey right now, Tim.
No, I haven't even started that path.
Oh, yes, you have. You're on the radio preaching to people.
No.
Or reaching people.
That's been going on. This is a totally different thing.
I know it's a totally different thing, but it's
Then
not
how-
a totally different thing.
All right, Tiny.
It's the same thing.
I
You're
don't
just
think it
changing
is.
your media.
Huh?
He says just changing
You're
your
just
media.
changing your media.
Okay. Well, Tiny, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tiny. Appreciate it. We hope to give you a call. Keep giving us a listen. If this is your first time, we do appreciate the call.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
God bless.
Let me turn this mic on. I completely agree with the man. 100%. And I know you're frustrated, but okay. But let's go back to before the phone call real quick. I know it's not about you. I know it's about God. But again, you're the vessel. You're the vessel that God's you're calling to talk to. And
Do you realize how upset that makes me? No. Let me explain why.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And you're not the only person who said that to me. A number of years ago, when I went looking for somebody to do this work, I went up and met with the bishop and said, hey, listen, we got the land. We're looking at doing a building. We need somebody preferably that speaks Spanish, and we would be able to put a place for them to live. Can you send a priest down to do it?
And he said, you're the priest.
Yep.
Because.
And I told him I didn't want to be. And he said to me, let me explain to you, Tim. He said, people don't give to philosophies. People don't give to ideas. People don't give to buildings. They give to people. And if the person can't build a relationship, there will be no money. And in your instance, I know you will succeed because you don't want it to be about you. But here's the thing. If it were just this, I'd be fine. But I can't do this if I don't get help with 5 loaves.
No, you clearly cannot.
And that's the issue.
But again, I think.
And that's the conversation I'm having,
Right.
is that the church does not value mission. No matter how much they say they do, they don't.
You want my answer?
Yeah.
It's time to move on.
What, shut down 5 loaves?
No. It's time to move on from the current church that you're with. The current.
I can't do that. I can't, because I believe in one holy Catholic and apostolic church. I believe in apostolic succession. And Frady, to be real honest, it's not my church.
No, I don't mean your.
Any of the churches are like that these days.
Mhm.
Find me any church that financially supports a mission like mine. Most churches that have food pantries, they're all they may have one person on staff,
Right.
which has other duties as well,
Right.
and the rest is volunteer. Find me one church that pays for an entire food, or not, take it out of food, one thrift store that's run by a church, staffed by a church, paid for by a church. doesn't exist.
A thrift store, I can tell you for a thrift store.
Where?
It's in Amherst, Virginia. My mother-in-law runs it.
And she gets paid.
Correct. No, she does it for free.
No,
that's
my point.
But that's her decision because
No, I got that. But find me a church.
But they would pay. They would pay
her.
They would pay her.
The entire staff.
Yes.
How many people does she have working there?
It's just her.
But
she
see,
runs it.
that's my point.
But they would. I'm telling
Brady,
you, they would.
No. Any church will allow a one-person ministry and may pay one person. I would need to run 5 loaves.
I know what you
paid.
need. I know.
Find me a church who would do that.
Well, hopefully you would pray on it, and then God. Why is that prayer not the answer?
I'm not saying that prayer's not the answer. I'm saying that churches don't do it.
Right. But I don't know what more to tell you besides having faith that a church would step up. God would put it on the hearts. You're sitting there praying for it. You're asking for
15 years.
But you've never
17 partner churches.
But you've always,
and not one of them.
But you haven't closed the doors. God has given you everything.
Close what doors?
You've never had to close 5 loaves. You've always, God is. I'm going to stand by this, and I'm not trying to upset you, but if I do, I do. Since the day I've met you, it's not been easy. I know it's not been easy for you.
No, Brady, you're missing what I'm saying.
I'm not. You've never.
What is my point?
You've never talked about stepping up.
What is my point?
Right now about
Yes.
about getting help with 5 loaves so you can move on to doing more things.
No, my point is churches do not value ministries, missions. They only value butts in the seat, tithe in the plates on Sundays. If they did value missions, there'd be a food pantry at every single church.
I don't think
There would be a thrift store at every single church for clothing. There would be, as it was meant to be, churches taking care of the widows
I don't think it's
and the orphans. And they don't. They gave it up to the government to do. And they don't do it. That's my point.
I don't think it's the churches don't want to. I don't think they have the people to do it.
If they pay, they would have the people. There are plenty of people out there who need jobs that would do it.
I don't think they're not full-time jobs.
Yeah,
People
they
look-
would be if you could.
I don't think okay, churches can't afford sometimes to have full-time
That's my point. They only care about their pastors, their music team, their sound team. Again, they only care about Sunday morning.
I truly want to believe that most churches,
I know you want to believe, but reality is
without the money, they can't have the staff.
It's all geared towards Sunday morning. That's what I'm talking about. Our entire church existence right now is geared towards Sunday morning.
I'll
Our
bring up-
marketing, our media, our music. Now, there are some churches out there who have home groups.
Mhm.
There are some churches out there that have Bible studies on Wednesday night.
right.
But most churches right now are only geared towards Sunday
Saturday.
morning. The other 6 days of the week, they could be doing mission, but they don't. I went and looked at church site after church site to see what mission work they do. Why is 5 loaves growing so much? Because the churches aren't doing it.
Right. But again,
I asked them, where do you go to church? I go to so-and-so. Oh, that's right. They don't do anything. How did you get a referral? My church sent me to you. Yep. That's another church that doesn't send us any volunteers, doesn't financially support.
okay, there's a church that I was a part of on that side of the water, and they wanted to be a partner. They were a partner with you, and they wanted to send people. The problem is, unfortunately, they did not get anyone to sign up. I was the guy.
What happened to
leading-
Faith?
I agree with you.
We
But-
kept going.
Right.
But shouldn't a church have faith and do it anyway?
Right. But if my point was, you know for a fact, I personally spearheaded that.
Well, then, Freddie,
and
according to your logic, there must not have been faith in there.
it's not faith. It was just no one signed up. So at that point,
But that's what you keep telling me is you need to step out in faith.
right. But if it's meant to be, it will happen. That's what
Well,
I'm
oh,
telling you.
so you're saying that God didn't mean for you to take care of the orphan and the widow? That God didn't want you to feed people on a regular
Nope, I
basis,
believe
which
God-
is Matthew 25?
Nope, that's not what I'm saying. I believe that people didn't hear that people didn't hear that. For some
Well,
reason.
but God wants it, so
I agree.
take out in faith.
But if it's going to happen when it's meant to happen, it will happen. If you want, when you step
It
out,
sounds to me like you're mixing the two
I'm
up.
not at all.
People have free will to decide what to do.
Correct.
And then God's going to overwhelm their free will in order to make it happen if he wants it
I'm
to
not
happen.
saying that. If it's meant to happen, he will provide. He will put it on people's hearts to provide.
And people don't have to follow that.
Correct.
And that's what you're saying.
Yes.
God put it on your
the right-
heart,
but the
and
right-
those people overwhelmed it.
But the right people will come. Will show up. The right
Did
people.
they?
No, not in my instance. No.
Then were you not being led by God?
Oh, no, I was. I don't. know
Well,
the others
then
were.
I don't see the point. So, folks, my whole point is this: check on your church, find out, and here's where it comes down to: why do we go to church on Sunday? Is it to fulfill a check mark that says I'll honor the Sabbath, and then the other 6 days of the week my Christian walk doesn't matter? Because, see, if you are a Christian and you're walking, you should be involved in mission every day. Now, I'm not saying a food pantry. I'm not saying clothing. How about evangelical? How about spreading the gospel? How about having a Bible study at lunch? How about living as a disciple of Christ, as we read about in the Bible? But that's not what we do. And our leaders are falling flat because all they care about is their Sunday morning. That's my point on this. And that's why I am upset. Because we don't. Folks, when you die, Matthew 25 comes into play. When we stand before God, Matthew 25 comes into play. We aren't going to be asked as pastors how many people we had in church on Sunday. We're not going to be asked what our daily attendance was, our income was, our tithing was, how many churches we planted. It says very clearly, God will ask us how many we fed, how many we clothed, how many we gave drink, how many we visited in the hospital and in the prisons. And what happens if we don't? Depart from me is what happens. And that's why I'm on my rampage. Because there are too many lives that are running around that don't see this. I want to thank Worley's Home Services and Hartman Dentistry for their support of today's show. Folks, we'll be back next week. I hope I put some fires under your seats. I want some phone calls next week, and I want people to scream and shout at me that I'm wrong. And I'll listen. Thanks for listening.